Welcome back. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi started his European tour, which took him first to Denmark, and it's going also to continue to Norway and Ireland. And yesterday he ended his first leg in Denmark after having talks with the Danish king, the Danish prime minister, along with the speaker of the Danish parliament, and also a number of top officials in the kingdom. To shed more light on the European tour and on the fruitful results of his first leg, we are very much delighted to have with us via phone His Excellency Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. A very good morning to you, Ambassador Bayoumi. Hello? Hello? Ambassador Bayoumi, can you hear me? Okay, it seems that we do have some technical difficulties, but we're going to try to have His Excellency Ambassador Bayoumi once again. We were talking about the first leg of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in the European tour, which is going to continue to Norway and to Ireland. In the President's visit to Norway, which is the very first visit by an Egyptian president to the Kingdom of Denmark, he met with King Frederick X, King of Denmark, and they discussed a number of issues of mutual concern. The Danish monarch said that Egypt is such a country rich with civilization, with culture, and with its generous people. President Sisi of course thanked the Danish monarch for the warm reception and welcoming, and he also invited him to visit Cairo in the very near future. We have now via phone Ambassador Bayoumi. Ambassador Bayoumi, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, how I hear you, okay.
Sir, fine, thank you, sir, very much. And as I said in my intro, we are talking about the European tour of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, which took him first to Denmark, and it's going to continue to Norway and to Ireland. Before going into details, how do you see the choice of the three countries, and particularly Denmark, as it's a historic visit? President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi is the first Egyptian president to visit Denmark.
I am so happy with this development because, as you well know, this is one of my files which I am following clearly. And mind you, as you rightly said, that this is the first visit to those countries from any president in Egypt. So we have a good history between Egypt and the three countries, but it was going or followed by the ambassadorial level or ministerial level. Now we are gaining a higher level to discuss the matters between the Egypt and the three countries, and we come to the level of partnership between Egypt and those countries at the level of the presidency.
Yeah.
Here we can expect much faster and better results because the president is there with some of his collaborators or ministers, with parliamentarians also, with businessmen. So it is a huge effort in order to keep this relation between Egypt and those countries at the highest level, inshallah.
Inshallah. And to tackle Denmark in specific, sir, if you permit me, when we know that with the very first visit of the President to Denmark, the level of bilateral relations raised to strategic partnership, and the President, along with Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, they witnessed the signing of a number of memoranda of understanding in various domains, in IT, in maritime transportation, in agriculture, in tourism, in combating terrorism and illegal migration, you name it. How do you see these fruitful results in the very first visit of an Egyptian president to the Kingdom of Denmark?
This is a good implementation of the association agreement signed between Egypt and the European Union in 2001, and it came into force in 2004. Since then, our exports to Europe increased by 4 times, and following fighting terrorism, we are committed, both of us, to fight all the organized crime,
Yeah.
It is terrorism, it is illegal migration, it is drug trafficking, and terrorism, of course. And here we are implementing this carefully. And Europe is appreciating very much Egypt's efforts to combat the illegal migration and trade in human beings.
Yeah.
And we are doing quite good examples. Egypt is hosting 9 million or more of guests from many countries, but we never make Egypt as a bridge to send them to Europe at all.
And we never call them refugees. We call them, as you've kindly mentioned, sir, guests. Returning back to the activities of the president in Denmark, as he also visited the parliament, he met with the parliamentary speaker of Denmark. He discussed with them ways to boost bilateral ties, in addition to discussing with the Danish prime minister files of mutual concern, particularly the regional files. And of course the Palestinian cause came first, along with the situations in Syria, Sudan, the security of the Red Sea. Also, these important files were high on the agenda of talks. How do you see the importance of these discussions, sir?
From my humble experience, I can tell you with all confidence that any problem or any issue in the whole world around us, whether on the international, regional, or bilateral, all these items should be discussed during the negotiations. And of course, on the I expect them to discuss the problem caused by the Ukrainian war, by the conflict on trade and economy between United States and China, the tension which threatens the security of the whole world between China on one side and Korea or Japan. And then in our region, of course, we are very keen to have a solution to the Palestinian question and the aggression of the Israelis against Palestine and against Gaza, and in South Lebanon. Still, Syria is occupied by Israeli troops in the Golan. Libya is not in good health. Sudan is not in good health. So all these matters are discussed on the international problems, the regional problems, but the most important is the bilateral one.
Because and in fact, Her Excellency, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, she really expressed full appreciation to the Egyptian extensive efforts to restore stability and security in the Middle East and to guarantee the access of humanitarian aid to Gaza. So also, this is only an example of how the Western powers are appreciating and hailing the extensive diplomatic efforts by Egypt to help our Arab allies. If you want to also elaborate on that, sir.
Yes, I see that we are making a good diplomatic success when we allocated 154 votes in the United Nations General Assembly to ask to stop the war and to establish a Palestinian state. And I must mention here that the European Union is the largest donor to the Palestinians in all fields. And I tell you a secret here that some European figures told us that whenever Israel is destroying projects in Palestine, Europe is asking Israel to compensate this immediately, or they cut short the assistance of Europe to Israel by whatever losses they are making on the Palestinian side. So we have here a very good practice of supporting the Palestinian question from the European Union also.
Yeah, amen to that. one also of the important points which were mentioned in the speech of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in the joint press conference with the Danish Premier following their talks, of course, that the head of state expressed appreciation for the Danish support to Egypt in defending its water rights in light of water scarcity. How also do you see, sir, this very controversial and important, vital topics as discussed with our Danish counterparts?
Yes, because Europe is a good example about the cooperation concerning water from rivers which is crossing more than one country. And they are a good reference to support us in what we are discussing with the other part in Ethiopia. They have the experience and they can immediately give us very good advices and to support us whenever we raise a question.
Sir, also the President announced the launch of the joint Egyptian-Danish Business Council, meaning that more investments are going to be to come to Egypt, and also many Egyptians are going to invest in Denmark. Also, the President was keen to meet with the CEOs of two of the very big and high-profile Danish companies, whether in the field of infrastructure or in the field of renewable energy. How do you see the meetings on the sidelines of the President's visit to Denmark?
This is also a good development there, because the President is not traveling by himself only. He has ministers around him, but the good element also is the businessmen associations which are making good meetings there, because the businessman is in the field. He can tell you what are the things would encourage more and more investment, what are the obstacles, so the President would take immediate decision to solve it. And here we are making another good story of success. I am following these activities, and I tell you also two sides of this story. One, that we have a huge project supported by the European Union, which is supporting the Egyptian government institutions. We are getting help from Europe in the field of water, in the field of traffic. If you have a car, you will realize that the number on your car is a European gift from Europe, from this project. Maritime safety is one program. Electricity is another. Name it. I was in charge of this program, and I don't think there is any sector in Egypt which is not receiving direct technical assistance. One file I want to shed light on it, that also the human relations between Egypt and Europe, that we have a very eminent community, Egyptian community in Europe, more than 1.5 million of Egyptians. They are very eminent persons occupying very important positions, and they are a source of transfer of foreign currency to Egypt by $33 billion from the whole world. But in Europe, they are really some good stories to be told.
Yeah.
For instance, the Greek ambassador is telling me that 1/4 of 25% of the maritime in his country is depending on Egyptian sailors. Many examples about the human
And
relations.
since we are mentioning examples, sir, as I learned, of course, from you, or you taught us, that sometimes the sideline diplomacy is more important than the official meetings or the pre-planned meetings in any important visit. And here, if you permit me, I'm going to focus on a meeting with President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi was keen to meet with, for example, the CEO of the AP Maersk company, and this is a Danish company which is working here now for more than 20 years. As the CEO of this group hailed the Egyptian efforts to facilitate the measures and giving more incentives to his company, and to all the time try to pave the way for more foreign direct investments to come. The president answered that this is going to continue. How do you see this, sir, as a message sent not only to the Danish other companies if they think to come and to invest here in Egypt, but no, this is a message to all EU investors, and this is an example of their own, I mean.
You are absolutely right, and this is the way to know from our partners directly what are things they need to absorb more and more investment, or what are the problems. And we have a lot of problems we have to learn a lot. We are trying to make our banking system much better, much easier, faster. Our bureaucracy also, we have to tackle it. I know for sure that our partners are telling us what do they need in order to make their investment much better and to increase it even.
Sir, another important meeting was with the CEO of the infrastructure company of Copenhagen. And witnessing the leap of infrastructure here in Egypt, it was something which was really appreciated by this Danish businessman. This is also another message saying that we are ready to receive more mega projects and also to absorb more investments from the private sector, not only the Egyptian or even Arab private sector businessmen, but also the foreign or Western private sector top-notch, if I may call it this way. If you want to also elaborate on that.
This is very, very important, because we need to increase and develop our economy much more in percentage than the birth rate. And to do that, we need to invest more and more. Unfortunately, our local savings is not enough to cover all our aims and projects. So we need investors coming from Egyptians living abroad, Arabs, and partners from Europe also, or United States or Japan and so on, because they have the technology. They have much more technology than we have. So we are doing a lot of efforts in order to attract more and more investors to our country, to fill the gap between our target to invest and our savings, because our savings are not enough to cover all our needs of investment and development.
And also to invade new fields or to open new horizons, I mean, to exchange experience in, let's say, relatively new fields like maritime industry, for example, like shipping. And when we know that Denmark is one of the pioneers when it comes to such fields, I think it's going to be a win-win situation for both of us.
I do not recall any sector in Egypt which is not getting technical assistance from one European partner. As you rightly said, maritime safety, and we have a good partnership there. We call it twinning between the authorities in Egypt and the authorities in Europe. In tourism also, we were getting the experience in many sectors. The Central Bank of Egypt has a partnership and twinning project with the Central Bank of Europe, and 8 other central banks in Europe, because they are keen to know what is going on and to help us and to exchange experience concerning the banking system, where we need also much more technical assistance to make our banking system going much better.
Sir, as usual, I enjoyed our discussion. You are always an added value to our program. We were very much delighted and honored to have with us His Excellency Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Right after the short break, we are going to return back with more, so stay tuned.